Good day. My name's Curtis Wright, AA3JE, President of the Cape Ann Amateur Radio Association, and I'd like to invite you to join us for Field Day 2009. Field Day is an ARRL, Amateur Radio Relay League, sponsored activity which tests emergency communication using amateur radio. All across America, in fields and parking lots and spots like this, amateur radio operators are setting up emergency communication stations. Their task is to set up an emergency station, operate for 24 hours, and shut it down using emergency power, emergency communications setups, and to set up and support themselves for one full day of radio communication in support of the communities which they serve. This year we're especially lucky because in addition to the 20 or so volunteers who are setting up the tents, shelters, and communication sites, we have the American Red Cross who has brought their emergency communications van in support of our activities here in Cape Ann. I really want to thank the people who have worked on this, and I think you'll see some enjoyable things as we set up. Last year, the Get the Antenna into the Tree activity was only surpassed by the Get the Antenna out of the tree. This is a zero footprint, green, ecologically positive activity in which we leave it as we found it. And we're very grateful to the trustees of the Babson Estate and to the cities and towns of Gloucester and Rockport for letting us use this site. With that, we'll move on to some of the antenna operations. This being a one-day affair, and there being a slight chance of rain, we don't actually set up hard shelters as we would in a longer emergency. Mostly, it's canopies and tents. This is an example of one of our tent operation sites into which we will set up a radio station. Let me see if I can get one of the guys to come over and tell us which one this is. And your name is?
I'm Stan Stone.
Call sign?
W4HIX.
Wow, what is this station here, Stan?
Well, we're setting up for VHF operations in this station.
VHF? I'm not sure all the audience knows what that is.
It's very high frequency. It's usually used for relatively short-range communications.
So this would be communications within Rockport or within Gloucester or the Rockport-Gloucester area?
Right, within 50 miles.
And what frequencies would this be?
144 to 148 megahertz.
That's cycles per second, million cycles per second.
That's right.
And you're just putting up your tent now and setting up your equipment, then you'll be putting up your antennas.
That's right.
Well, that's what the first one of the items that we're showing you. This is the VHF tent. This is our second site. This is the main site. I've been fortunate enough to get the area and field commander for the field day today, and we'll ask him to describe what's going on in this station. Your name, sir?
Name is Jim Mondello. I'm the field day chairman for
Call sign?
2009. Call sign is Whiskey 1 Delta Delta X-ray. What you see behind me will be the main tent. In it we will have the GOTA or Get on the Air station, which allows any non-licensed hams or hams that haven't been licensed using their licenses recently to operate, as well as we'll have a digital station in here utilizing PSK31 and other digital modes. We will have the HF phone station in here as well, and we'll see how propagation works and determine which bands to operate.
I'm a little unclear as to digital. Is that something to do with computers?
Yes, it is. Yep, the digital modes will utilize an interface with the computers to the radio, and it's very simple operation via usually via a keypad or a keyboard.
Well, thank you very much. This would be the main site in which we would be maintaining communications in the event of an actual emergency. Digital has the advantage that it can handle typed messages and email type messages if the internet or the telephone systems are down. I think we'll move on to the next site. If you see a group of people working very hard to get this site up, that's because this is the food and comfort tent. This is where you get your sodas, it being a hot day, and we will actually be serving meals, although they will be cooked off-site because of restrictions regarding the use of fire. We've actually do pretty well for ourselves on field day because many of the members are not only excellent amateur radio operators, but they're also gourmet cooks. This site's about 50 yards away from the rest of the facility, and because it's the emergency power or generator site. Generators are extremely useful in case of emergency, but they have significant risk. These are gasoline generators, and as a consequence, they use a very flammable fuel. There are strict safety standards enforced by the safety officer for field day on running, maintaining, and refueling generators. Please be careful with emergency generators in the event of a real emergency. Both carbon monoxide and fire are serious dangers involving the use of this equipment. You may notice that this is a larger fire extinguisher than the ones that you're used to. A gasoline fire involving a generator requires every bit of one of these, and in fact, often two. While we're in this convenient spot away from the action so we can get a good view, what I'm showing you is the equipment that still has to go up. You see 2 boxes full of radio equipment, a box full of sight signs, which are necessary to control the crowds, identification signs, which tell people how to get into the site, station identification signs. This is an example for the continuous wave or Morse code site, and a whole heap of aluminum, which when assembled becomes an antenna. Most high-frequency antennas for this kind of activity are about 30 feet high and require temporary guy wires. They're easily put up. They do not require cranes or equipment, but you'll see that later when we get to one of the antenna raisings. Let's take a quick look around the site. What you can see over there is the tables and chairs, which are going to be put inside the main tent on which to position the equipment. You probably can see in your lower left of the screen both the power cables and the spare generator in case the main generator fails. Over to your left, you can see the back side of the main tent, and you can see the emergency refueling station for the staff while they put up the main condiments and courtesy tent. And in the back you can just see the edge of the VHF station poking out. The Red Cross truck will probably not be used as a radio truck in this field day, although anything can happen depending on what happens with the weather.